Hey guys, how you doing? This is Mike McCormick with Advanced Criminology here in Owings Mills, Maryland. And today's discussion, we're going to take a look at a video of a police-involved shooting over in Fairfax County, Virginia, on the GW Parkway. This particular individual was shot and killed by Capitol Park Police, the U.S. Park Police, over in Washington, D.C., in that area, in Fairfax area. It was November 17th, 2017, around 7:30 at night. Let me give you a quick highlights of this thing. Basically, you have a young man in his vehicle in the city of Alexandria. He's hit from behind, minor fender bender, from another car, and for whatever reason, he just leaves. The occupants of that vehicle behind him, who struck him in the rear, they called 911 and they indicated to 911 operator the license tag number of the vehicle. This same gentleman shortly thereafter is seen by the U.S. Park Police on the George Washington Expressway, or GW Parkway, going southbound from Alexandria. Subsequently, the U.S. Capitol Park Police give chase. The gentleman stops for the first time. The officers get out of the vehicle. They walk over to the vehicle, and this gentleman takes off for the first time. Again, they give chase. They stop him again at a second location on GW Parkway. Same thing happens again. The only difference is this time the officer, when he went to the vehicle, with his gun at the window. And he tapped, probably looked like to try to tap on the window or break the window. And as a result of his actions, his gun hit the ground. He had to pick it up. Meanwhile, the gentleman takes off and flees again. Third time, they stop him shortly again off the GW Parkway, and at that time they pull their SUV in front of the gentleman's car, and they get out immediately and they start firing into the vehicle approximately 9 times. According to the medical examiner's report, he was hit 4 times, 4 times in the head, and he was struck 1 time in the arm or the hand. I would suspect that to be the left hand, since he was the way he was sitting, and as you'll see the video. About 10 days later, Mr. Ghaisar, that's his name, Bijan Ghaisar, he died as a result of his injuries. The family is suing the police department for wrongful death in this particular case, based upon what they saw in the released video, according to their defense counsel. U.S. Park Police have turned the matter over to the FBI for further investigation. Now, the U.S. Park Police has not released any of their dash cam video, which is important because audio is also associated with that particular video. And so this is where we find ourselves in this particular case of this police officer involved shooting. So it's my job here at Advanced Criminology to always give you guys the academic side from a criminologist point of view, and also to give you my law enforcement side from a practitioner point of view. So let's give you the law enforcement side real quick. Call comes out 911 that there's a suspect vehicle that just left the scene of an accident. Now, in Virginia, it's a felony to leave the scene of an accident. So keep that in mind in this case. The officers respond. They pick the vehicle up on GW Parkway, and again, they make 1 attempt. He doesn't stop. They make a 2nd attempt. He doesn't stop. Now, I can tell you, most officers in this situation here, from the fact that you didn't stop the first time, they're getting a little pissed at you. The second time, they're getting even more pissed at you, and there's a heightened sense of, well, why isn't this guy stopping? If this is just for an accident, then maybe something else is afoot. Maybe there's something else going on reason why this guy isn't stopping. So automatically, they're thinking criminality. I'm going to say that again. They're automatically thinking criminality. And when you think criminality, when you compartmentalize and when you think one way, that an individual is reacting erratically, then you go automatically into that law enforcement mode and not the social worker mode, okay, or the psychologist mode. Now, when they get to the 3rd stop, they're pretty pissed because this guy just didn't stop at all, okay? And they're kind of embarrassed because I think the officer dropped his gun the 2nd stop. So when they get to the 3rd stop, they immediately jump out the vehicle. I mean, no questions asked, and they start firing into his car. Now, the problem I have with this particular thing, and I'm on the academic side, the problem I have with this particular third stop is that they get out immediately. They go to the driver's windows with the weapons drawn, okay, and start firing into the car. The other problem I have with this is that there's another officer on the scene who also fires into the car. So I have a problem with both officers having to shoot their weapons into this particular vehicle. That's one issue. Okay. Now the next issue deals with which was pretty much gotten from defense counsel was a policy that deals with how U.S. Park Police are supposed to handle these particular matters. And it says, officers shall not fire at moving vehicles nor fire from a moving vehicle except that they have reasonable belief to believe that the subject poses an imminent danger or death or serious physical harm. This whole case hinges upon these words right here. Poses an imminent danger. I'm telling you now that in most police-involved shootings, those terms, imminent danger, are so important in whether or not officers are absolved the behavior or not in terms of use of force. So, defense counsel will certainly be looking at that and then comparing that to the video that we've seen. We don't know any more than what is in the video. I'll certainly put the video below my video and add the link there, and you can follow it. Just so that you can kind of look at it. I want you to look at it maybe once or twice before you comment about it one way or the other. And try to be objective when you comment. Again, you know, I can be kind of subjective when it comes to the law enforcement side, and I can be certainly, you know, subjective when it comes to the other side too. But I would ask you that you come to the channel with an open mind. If you believe that the officers were wrong, you say the officers were wrong. But I just want to give me a little bit more than just that they were wrong. I can remember when I was in college, and I used to get away with it in high school because high school is at a different level. But in college, when you make a statement about whether or not you believe somebody's wrong or right, you certainly need to expand upon it. So just don't give me the check where you check the hand and say you like or dislike the video. I want to hear your comments because we're in a time, aging time now in policing and law enforcement in America that, you know, citizens have a lot of power to make changes. And the only way we can make the changes that are necessary to be made in America right now is that those of you who watch this channel, those of you who believe that we need to have reform in law enforcement, this is the way to do it. This is the way to do it. You know, you know, when you talk to me online, and I love talking back and forth with you, that's why I find the time to do it. I answer comments sometimes at 2 in the morning because those things are on my mind. And I need to get back to you. I just feel I need to get back to you. So that's how serious I take the channel, and I want you guys, when you come on board to this channel and you subscribe, that you give me a lot of information to work with, because sometimes you might give me stuff that I hadn't even thought of, and then I can use those types of comments when I'm engaging in meetings and things like that, when I meet with other law enforcement officials around you know, the state, and when I travel to different conferences around the country. So that's why I ask you to leave your comments. Okay. Thank you. That's just no lecture. So that's why I asked. So now let's get back to this case. Now, some of the questions that need to come out in this particular case. One is we're talking about use of force and lethal force. Lethal force is always an escalation up to using a handgun to kill someone. So we want to know, you know, what other avenues, what other options were available for the officers when they got to that point. I've read one comment on CNN where the comment said, why didn't they shoot the tires out? Well, obviously they have a policy where they don't do that. So that was not going to happen. Okay. And lots of times, a lot of police departments have similar policies about randomly shooting at vehicles when you're on the expressway, particularly if there might be some other vehicles out there. Okay. Let's face it. Police officers aren't super crack shots, so to speak. Okay. A lot of that happens in the movie theaters, but believe me, they don't and aren't that well versed in shooting. You know, most officers only go to the range once a year. So they're equivalent. Now when you get into the specialized units, your TAC force and all that, they're required to go a couple times, several times a year. That's what they do. But the average officer, no. So I don't want you to put it in that light sometimes and compare what goes on television to real life scenarios and situations. Okay. Again, we need to know what happened back at the scene when Mr. Ghaisar first pulled off. That's important. We need to know at what point were the cops' lives in danger. We need to see that, or anybody else's life in danger. We need to see that. And what else? And we need the park police to release their video and audio so we can hear the conversations that were going on in the car. Trust me, there were some conversations going on in that vehicle, and that is going to be so important because that goes to the mindset of the officers when they got to the last and final stop. Okay? Because as far as they're concerned, this guy is somebody who needs to die because he just won't stop. In their mind, I'm thinking. But, you know, the law says different. And that's why we have laws in this country, so that we can correct bad behavior and penalize bad behavior. Okay. So some of the other issues, and I'm a big policy man. You guys know that. I'm big on policy. So if you ever have policy on the police department or you have policy related to criminal justice issues and you want me to address those policies, by all means, go to the channel's email address and give me an attachment so I can read that policy and then expand upon it on the channel as well. Love to get that kind of stuff if I can get it. And I don't care where you're from around the country, or for that matter, a lot of my folks are from around the world. So, you know, just send it to me and I'll respond to everything that you send me. Trust me. Okay. So, unfortunately, I didn't give you this guy's background, Mr. Ghaisar's background. I'm certainly his family certainly wouldn't mind if I mention it. That he was a 25-year-old young man who was an accountant who worked in the area. And I just want to make mention of that. Okay. So, having said all what I said here, I'll let you guys get the opportunity to watch the video a couple of times and then respond back to me, and I'll give you my thoughts as well. My name is Mike McCormick. I want to thank all of you who continue to watch this channel and support this channel with your comments and subscribe to this channel as well. And I'll see you next time I post.